to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before I start the show and introduce you to today's guest, I have a question for you. How are you going to finish out 2020? And maybe more importantly, where are you going in 2021? Do you have a plan? Do you need a little inspiration and motivation? Well, I've got just the thing. If you are listening in real time, I'm inviting you to join us for the launch of my third book this Thursday, December 10th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A Well-Designed Business to Power Talk Friday Experts Volume 2 is out. Yes, this book is jam-packed with advice, tactics, and get your butt moving ideas to get your business on track. The event is free. It is virtual, and I will be joined by my 9 co-authors. In addition to getting to know these ladies and to learning the best business lessons from them and to learning their ahas and their takeaways from the real-life career experience, I will be giving away tickets to LuAnn Live. Yep, that's right. If you haven't heard, LuAnn Live is happening February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2021. Ticket sales are going to open on December 11th, the very next day after the book launch, right? So I know that many of you have been waiting for this because I get the emails asking me, when is registration going to open? Well, this Friday it opens. But keep in mind, if you join us Thursday night in real time, you might win a ticket. So I'd love to have you with us. Go to luannniagara.com/launch. Sign up, and then we will email you the link to join us with on Thursday night, December 10th. All right, now on to today's guest, Melissa Leclair, who, with her husband Sacha, began their Ottawa-based interior design business, Leclair Decor, as a side hustle back in 2011. They were revamping their first home together, and then all of a sudden, you know the story, the friends and the family all say, could you do that for us, right? Now, today, the company has evolved into a full-fledged residential design firm with a focus on high-end remodels and new builds. Their design team serves clients across North America, and they lean very heavily into digital technology. So you'll hear as Melissa discusses their business model, what I mean by this, okay? Another major part of their design enterprise is LD Shop, the retail shopping arm of Leclair Decor. Started as an e-commerce shop in 2017, they now have since paired their online shopping experience with a brick-and-mortar showroom, which is now expanded into 10,000 square feet. You heard me correctly, 10,000 square feet. All of this, plus 2 little kids. And, you know, the Leclairs have a few things going on in their life, right? So I cannot wait for you to hear Melissa describe how she went from a self-taught interior designer and a DIY businesswoman to become the CEO of a 45-person company. All right. Now, one quick shout out to our sponsor, Kirsch, before we get going. Have you gone to Kirsch.com yet? You need to check out the drapery hardware that they have for your window treatment projects. From the motorized Breeza collection, which has some of the best tech built into it that I know firsthand at Window Works, we have seen, we have used, and we appreciate, all the way to the Buckingham collection and the Architrack collection, which is just perfect for those sleek, ripple fold, modern installs that are so popular right now, right? So go to Kirsch.com to find the dealer nearest you. All right, I'm looking forward to introducing you to Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here too. I saw you shouting it out on Instagram that you were
I,
getting ready for the interview
I
today.
had
That
to
was
let
fun.
everyone know I was going to be here. Yeah.
That was so much fun. I thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so my goodness, you have such a business on your hand, Melissa, and we've spent a couple of minutes trying to figure out where we should start. And I
Yeah.
think what I've decided is let's just lay out what your team looks like because you're really running three businesses. You've got your interior design firm, you've got your e-commerce site, and you've actually got a really large retail location as well. I feel like I read it was like 5,000 square feet or something like that.
Yeah, 10.
10,000. Oh, there's me with my math. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
10,000 square feet. That's insanity. Okay.
It
So
is.
that's
Yeah.
three huge businesses that you're running. So let's the walk me through the e-commerce business and the retail business, what those teams look like, because I think we'll spend more time in the weeds, obviously, with the design business. But run us through what you're
Mhm.
managing on. I want to get a handle of everything you're handling.
Yeah. So our entire team is about 45 people. I feel like we'll be at about 50 people at the end of the year, but only about 10 of those are on the design team. So everyone else is retail, e-com, and the physical space. A lot of our store does function through e-com. So we do have a lot of walk-in traffic, in our showroom obviously is fully operational now that COVID is no longer.
Mm,
Although I don't want to jinx it here, knock on wood.
yeah.
Uh, on the sidelines a little bit. But yeah, a lot of it is the e-com. So a heavy amount of people are on the back end of it. So they're shipping and logistics. We've got just site management, order processing, um, yep, products. I'm like, I can't even think of everything.
Yeah.
Customer service, yeah, and then we've got our sales associates. Yeah.
Okay. And so is when it's is so maybe I misunderstood. Is it 10,000 square feet that's combination probably warehouse
It's
and
a combination.
retail?
Yeah, we have small. So we essentially took over like kind of two retail spaces. One is just under 5,000, one is over. Each of them have like sort of a small warehouse in the back, so just for decor and then small shipments. And then I did move my office space into one side, so it's about 1,500 square feet for office space, which at the time seemed like a lot of space for office, but you know, we keep adding team members, so
I
we're running
know.
out of space in there already. So we're actually going to go look at another site tomorrow potentially for some more space because we just don't have enough
I
space.
know. I know. It's crazy. Well, exciting and good for you that you're going to look for another space, and that's really cool. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
so now tell us how your design firm works. What are the 10 people that work in the design firm, their positions and their roles, and what are they responsible for?
Mhm. So I have that. We actually did a complete restructuring just this year. So I have a design manager who oversees, the entire team, and really has hands-on in terms of like processes because we're always trying to update what we're doing. We always take a look at like our past projects, what went well, what didn't go well. I think communicate you can never be too heavy on communication. So we're always trying to like include stuff in our agreements, in our onboarding, making sure that we've got, more information in our weekly check-ins. So she really handles all of that stuff and makes sure that the team is up to date on everything and also overseeing the designs. And I sit down and oversee the designs before they go out. And then we have two teams now. So each a project lead. So I've got two project leads, design technicians, and then design assistants on those two teams. And then I have an additional design assistant as well, just to kind of float around and help out wherever's needed. And then I have an internal designer. So she's handling the shop because we like work on flipping the store quarterly because we really try to get maximize content, maximize like that floor space and that use of space. And she's also working on our house and any internal projects that we have going on.
Okay, so that went pretty quickly. So we have the design manager.
Yeah, sorry, I talk fast sometimes, so
It's
please.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. So, design manager, we're going to review her in a second, but then you have two project leads. Each of the project leads has a design assistant, and each of them has a design technician, did you say?
Yeah.
And then there's an additional two more design assistants, one that's a floater and one that does the shop and your personal work.
Yeah, the shop and personal work is a lead. She's a project lead for like our internal stuff.
Okay, okay, okay.
Hmm.
Very cool. And
Hmm.
so, um, talk to me a little bit about this role of the design manager, like the day to day of this design manager. How exactly do you task her with overseeing the two design teams? And is she also, or he also, who these other the one a design assistant and other design lead report to? Is all of the
Hmm.
people under her and
Hmm.
then to
Yep.
you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's underneath her. So she was actually our first employee ever. So she's been with us for five. She just hit her 5 year mark. So she really knows the ins and outs of the company as a whole as well, but really has a heavy hand on like our branding, our processes, helping step in with, communication, design updates. So she always like checks everything before I even have to go in and check it. And then she's,
Mm.
weekly meetings with the whole team as well as individual meetings with the project leads to check in on what's going on there.
And are those structured, Melissa? Like you just
Hmm.
know if it's Tuesday at 2 o'clock, your design manager is having a meeting with a
Hmm.
design lead, or is it she manages her day her week as it comes?
A little bit of both. So there is structured time. So there's weekly meetings with the whole group. Usually it's on Mondays. Sometimes that fluctuates. And then weekly meetings with the two project leads. Again, that's usually pretty structured, but sometimes obviously it floats. And then the like other check-ins will happen as deliverables are due to clients. So we always do like internal review, a week or so before it's due to the client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so you have the design lead,
Hmm.
and that lead has an assistant. And what happens? A project comes in. Are you the face of every project? So every client meets Melissa. Every client is, brought into the front door by you. And then you turn around and say, I think you would gel with this team, or I think you would gel, or this team's pipeline is. How do you work that?
Hmm. Not anymore. I used to be, so that just changed this past year, just with the volume. So I don't meet everybody anymore, which is so crazy. And even the people that we're hiring, I don't meet everyone anymore, which again, it just seems so crazy to
Whoa.
me because it
Whoa.
wasn't that long ago where where you have your hand in everything, and
Yeah.
sort of like as it grows, you just don't have that ability anymore, which is like I, I'm I'm past it now, but it's a weird phase to go through when you're sort of like not able to touch every aspect of your company anymore. It's weird. But
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it now. I mean, I trust everyone in those like leadership positions. They all have had heavy training from me in terms of like brand and what we're looking for, and in terms of clients too, sort of like, Grace has worked alongside me for a long time now. So understanding what type of clients that we want, sort of people that have the same brand vision as us, like the same style. Communication style is really important to us as well. We're very digital heavy too. So we need people who like, appreciate, and want sort of that digital connection, as opposed to somebody who wants a designer who's, really going to be hands on with them and kind of walking them through things in person in stores. We don't really do that. Everything is very, very digital. So looking for those elements in a client. Yeah. And so we have everyone, new clients, they have to fill out the form on our website. This gets, all the information about them, their project, and we ask a few personal things too, just kind of in terms of what they like to do on the side. We like to get to know the clients as much as possible because you really need them to trust you. And I think, you know, you want to have obviously a very professional relationship, but I think having a nice personal relationship is really helpful, especially as a lot of our projects are getting bigger and bigger. So you're with these people over, 6 months, a year, 2 years. So getting as much information from them and getting to know them as much as possible is really important. But
Okay.
they are sort of, my design manager is heading that up now. So she handles all of that. She reviews all the people coming in. And then it'll depend more on timing, which team they'll go to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
So
and so she'll kind of see like what size is the project, and then kind of take a look, and then timing wise too, like when is this project, because sometimes people are getting in touch and they want it like tomorrow, right?
right.
And then sometimes they're like, oh, we're not starting for another year or two. So it'll
Okay.
be allocated depending on that.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So, how many projects a year would you say the firm is doing full service design at this point?
Hmm. That is an excellent question. Um, we want to be doing like at least 10, I think.
Okay. And so when you say so 10, they're probably multiple six figures, multiple millions because 10 doesn't seem like a big number, but I'm
Yeah.
hearing all the work that's going on.
Yeah, like big projects. And then we're gonna have our small, like we still will take on small decorating projects. So I would say 10 bigger projects.
Mhm.
And then we still have yeah, some smaller projects, and we also have a close relationship with a builder here called Richcraft. So we do all of their model homes. So we have like 20 of those coming through the pipelines as well.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So we
Um
usually have like 10 to 20 projects at any one point in time, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily large scale projects. Some of them are smaller,
right,
but
right.
I would say 10 large scale projects.
Wow, amazing. So
Mhm.
so take me back. I mean, first of all, take me back. What are you, like a minute old here? I mean, like I just my brain is like frying over
I
this.
know. I
So
know.
you said that she started with you 5 years ago, but I thought I read that the firm started in 2011. So I've got some disconnect, or again, I can't add and
No, we were
subtract.
yeah, no, no, no. We were a side hustle for a long time. So it
Oh,
really
that's
started
right.
with like Sasha and I doing our first house, and then we did our friend's condo. He bought a condo and was like, "Hey, I really want you guys to decorate it." So we did that for free, um, just to kind of get our feet wet.
Mm.
And then he had a work party and invited some colleagues over, and then we got our first paying customer, which was just so crazy. I was like, "You want to pay me to decorate your house? Like, this is the most amazing thing ever." Yeah. And then we like put a website together, business cards, but it was still a side hustle for a really long time. So I was working at the Decorator's Choice, managing that, doing like paint and decor and color consultations.
Mm.
And he was DJing and doing graphic design and photography. So it was like a few years we were just doing it as a side hustle before we were
Okay.
able to like fully, um, you know, it's a big jump to sort of like quit your kind of stable income to like
Mm.
jump in, and for both of us too, it was sort of like this is all or, or nothing here. Like no pressure, but we can't mess this up or else we're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. So
Right. And you both jumped at the same time. So
at the
many.
same time, yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting. So many couples will go one and then the other will
Yeah.
follow, right?
Yeah, actually he kept his DJing because it was at night for a little while. Yeah, just to kind of have
Mm, something
a
where
little
you
bit of
can,
cash flow.
pay
Yeah,
the
'cause we're
electric
really
bill.
exactly. Like in the beginning, it was like you're really living off of nothing, hopes
Wow.
and dreams for a really long time because all of the money gets reinvested into the company. So you're really, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, you're really
And
living.
did you guys do that thoughtfully where as you were doing it as a side hustle, did you build up a 3 or 6 month nest egg so that like just like you said, we're going to reinvest the money that comes into the business so we've got our home expenses covered, or did you just wing it?
We were winging it. I
Wow.
feel like I'm still winging
Wow.
it.
Wow.
No, I do try to invest a lot into making conscious decisions, but a lot of it is sort of like gut instincts.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, interesting. And so what do you think it is, Melissa? I mean, 5 years, even if it is 9 years with 4 as a side hustle, 5 years is an incredibly short time to develop your business out to the point that you are really already able to be that removed from it. And that's the qualifier for me, able to be that removed from it.
Mhm.
So what do you think what is it? Did you have something in your background where you just innately understood? Was it, do you attribute it to training the people that work for you? Do you attribute it to being a delegator? Do you attribute it to mentoring? Do you attribute it to meetings? Like what's the secret
Yeah.
sauce in that?
All of those things I think are really important. I definitely didn't even, this is so funny too now, like reflecting back. Like when we started this was definitely not my plan. I was like, I'm gonna have this like huge company. It's gonna be amazing. I was definitely like, I was again, like I still think back to just like I was so excited that someone agreed to pay me money to decorate their home. So it's so crazy now to like think that I have this huge company, but I'm really kind of stepping into it this year, even especially I think for a long time I was just sort of like winging it and kind of keeping up with the momentum that we were creating. We were investing so much in marketing and in the design, and we were just kind of like working. I was just working really hard. Um, but I would say that I'm definitely a good delegator and I feel comfortable um, in a leadership capacity. So
Mm.
I know a lot of people struggle kind of like how do you hire someone? What, like how do you trust them? And I think if you don't have to hire too. There's nothing wrong with staying by yourself or having
Right.
just one other person. There's nothing wrong with that. I think you need to feel comfortable to hire people because it is a different business then. Once you start hiring people and building up a company, it's a totally different business that you're running. But yeah, a leadership skill set is really sort of being able to delegate, yeah, having meetings, talking through things. I really think making, quick decisions, staying calm and level-headed. I really discovered that early on. My mood really sets the tone for what's going on. So I always go into people always joke too. They're like, the building would be like burning down, and you would be like, it's okay, guys, everyone get up from your desks and let's go to the door, because it's
Right.
like, it's not helpful if I start to freak out. So I'm always
Right.
like, okay, yep, that's a problem. Let's like figure out the solution and like, let's move on.
Right.
It's not like I don't really sit and stew about anything. I'm kind of like, yep, okay, this is the problem. This is the solution. Like, what's next?
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. So are you going to tell me that in the last 5 years, have you not done any of the typical strategic things that companies do to build their business, or you take it in stride and you did them? So your year-end goal setting, setting your marketing budget, reviewing your finances on a regular basis and making strategic decisions on I can rent a
Yeah.
space or I can't, or are you actually going to sit there and tell me you
I
did this all by
know.
gut?
I wish I could tell you that this was all this amazing plan I had and I built it up and I was very like confidently structured, but I would say like, yeah, like 90% of what we do is bringing it.
Whoa.
I really trust my gut though. I'm
Yes,
very
that's
like,
important.
yeah, like sensitive to, I, I do invest time though in checking in on my accounting. I'm especially now trying to be, I think this year specifically, being more proactive and purposeful in my planning instead of being reactive, because I think sometimes initially you don't really have a choice. You're just trying to keep up with your work day, as
Exactly.
you're building momentum. So you
Mhm.
don't always allocate enough time to be proactive. But this year I've really been trying to be purposeful and trying to stay on top of things before they become an issue. Like, communication. Like I'm working with my team right now on like time blocking and scheduling. Um, policies, all these things to try to be as proactive as I can be to make sure that I'm providing as much support and guidance to the team as possible.
How about
Um,
even that, Melissa? Like, on one hand, when we talk about, we're saying the word winging it, and I'm going to say natural instinct, right? You just have a natural instinct for business. There's no question, okay? You just don't build a business that large winging it if you don't have some innate talent for business,
yeah.
okay?
I
That's
think I have a talent too for people.
mm,
I think that is something that's really important too. So being able to hone in on someone's personality. So I mean, obviously I look at someone's resume, but I'm really looking at that initial interview as like, are you a kind person? Are you a good communicator? Are you going to be
mm,
a hard worker? Um, I've really tried to stack my team with people who are team oriented. Like you're going to jump in and help out wherever's required. You're going to wear whatever hat that you need to wear that day, as well as having like talent and ability to thrive in whatever department you're in. I
okay.
think that's really helped with the success of the company as well. So it's not just myself, but being able to build up, the pillars, like those leadership positions in individuals like that, and then kind of have that trickle down.
Okay, but you see what I was about to say, and I'm gonna. You're showing it again. In other words, well, here's what it is. Here's what I was gonna say. You obviously have an innate talent and an innate instinct for business, but you also know the hallmarks of a good business. When you said a few moments ago, this year I'm really working on taking a step back and reviewing my policies and making them sure they're in place. I'm making sure that we're looking and reviewing if the team is properly time blocking and maximizing their time. And then you just said, there's pillars that you want to look for when you fill your leadership positions and what you're looking for. See, those are things that a, a seasoned business owner would normally say. So it's curious. So the thing is, I'm what I'm right now is admiring. So I hope you understand. My curiosity is admiration. Okay. So in my curiosity and my admiration for it, is it like, I mean, do you come from entrepreneurial parents? Do you read a business book every single week, between Monday and Friday? Like, where is this coming from where even though you might not be saying, hey, I sit here and I work on my business X amount of hours, I've planned everything and plotted everything, you still are aware of the markers that you are going for, even if you had, to your own point, didn't actually sit there and plan it out a 5-year plan. You see what I'm asking?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say I have a natural business sense. I think there was no plan B for me too from the get-go. I was like, I'm gonna make this work. It's just gonna have to work, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I was just gonna figure everything out, and there was nothing that was gonna stop me.
Okay.
I think that was a really important attribute too. Like when like the problem solving thing, and it pops up all across the board. But being able to kind of like when COVID happened, you know, um, there was not even any information to, make business decisions off of. It was sort of like, we don't know how long we're going to be shut down. We don't know what the economic implications were. No one knew. The governments didn't know. No one was saying anything. And I was sort of like, how are you supposed to make business decisions? And I'm usually pretty comfortable making them, but I was like, I literally have nothing to go off of. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like starting to Google. I'm like, or I like listen to your podcast. I'm like, what would Lou do? And then I'm like Googling like what happened, what did companies who thrive do during last recessions? It was like, monitor your cash flow and amp up your marketing. So that's what
Right.
we did. I was like
Interesting.
halted all non-essential ordering, and then we
Mm.
amped up our marketing. So creating, making sure you're holding on to your market share.
That's
Um,
interesting because that is exactly what I talked about in what would Lou do episode when the COVID hit, because we have been through our share of recessions, and the first one, as I described in that episode, we almost didn't make it, and so by the time the last one we went through, we really. I always say the sentence, we sailed through, because financially, from a business perspective, we sailed through, but not without emotional toll, because some of the decisions that we had to make in order to financially sail through included letting employees go that we loved and valued. So I always qualify it by, oh, we sailed through it. It's like, well, we did on paper, but heart and soul wise, it was gut wrenching. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but it is true. And so that's just so interesting that instead of saying, well, I don't know what to do, you're going out and you're Googling it and you're reading it and you're
Yeah.
figuring out what
Like
to do.
everything is figure outable, you have to just figure it out. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like coding, I'm like not, I would not call myself super tech savvy, but we needed to update our initial email that goes out for people when they're ordering online to include, because not everyone was reading the like shipping policies and return policies, and there was no way for me to copy and paste it in. I was like, well, I'm just going to Google how to code this. Like, like there's got to be a way. Like you just have to figure stuff out.
That's pretty.
And
That's
I
pretty
figured it
nervy
out.
right there.
They like show you how to code it. So I put it in, I coded it, and I was like, wow, I just coded something, you
Oh my
guys.
God. I can hear Nicole Heimer. She's thinking to herself right now, Lou, don't ever do that. Stay away from the back end of your computer, of your website.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh my goodness. Well, you're just obviously, if I did a personality index profile on you, you're probably a very high A personality, go getter, can get it done, relies on herself
Yeah.
to know that you can do it, right?
Yeah, I think relying on yourself is really important too when you're doing your business. I try to lean on like accountants, lawyers, professionals, but I also kind of advocate for myself, because sometimes when I'm like not agreeing with what they're saying, or sometimes I have no idea what they're saying, right? Sometimes they're talking to you and you're like, I don't know what language this is. So, go to Google and be like, what is this that he's saying? Go and do your own research and figure out what they are talking about, because you should know. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of all of the accounting, but I do think it's important when someone's telling you something that you still understand what they're telling you and
Right.
you're still making a business decision for you.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's your business.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% on that. And so to that end, are you the in within your business, are you the one that takes care of all of the operations and the finance end, and Sacha, your husband, is more in the social media and the visual end of things, or do you share operations and financial responsibilities? How does that work?
No, no, that that falls on me. I'm
Okay.
definitely, yeah, operations. I would say we overlap in terms of like creative, but he's definitely the creative director. He heads up all of the visionary stuff in terms of like the websites and the marketing and the, social media. He's the driving force behind all of that stuff for sure.
So interesting. Now tell me, if you had to think about building this business, and it's Sacha was your husband, but he was a lawyer and he loved being a lawyer, or he's a dentist, or he was a bricklayer and he loved doing it and he had no desire, wasn't a creative soul. And we know, I can hear already that you have great chops for business and you would have created a business. But do you look sometimes, or even if I just me asking you, would you
Mhm.
look now and say, all of it would have happened, but I probably wouldn't have had, a 250,000 followers on Instagram, or I wouldn't have
Mhm.
had the client pipeline coming from social. I would have still had a successful business. I still would have been who I am. Do you think that would be very different without Sacha?
I do. I think a huge thing that gets overlooked in businesses is marketing. So we really view marketing as a heavy portion of the company. Um, so yeah, I mean, maybe I would have been able to still create a company, but it definitely wouldn't be at the level that it's at.
Right. It does take both sides. It takes
It
both
takes both.
sides.
I know, and it's so hard. And I talk to a lot of people who are, just starting out, and they're like, "Well, I don't have time." And I'm like, I totally get it. It's a whole animal in itself, but you can't overlook it. It's really important. Like if you want to have, market share, you've got to get out there and get it.
And then what does that look like within the business for your, whether it's probably not a day-to-day event in your business the way it sounds, but do you and Sacha meet and review and put the direction for the creative as it manifests in marketing and all the visuals, or does Sacha do that and he has his own team, or does he do that with your manager? Like how does that happen?
The marketing portion.
Yes.
Yeah, he really heads that up. So I definitely stick my head in there a lot. But he definitely heads it up. So we have 3 people right now in the marketing. So we've got 2 graphic designers and a marketing associate who help out with all the social media and the graphics that you see on the site, as well as he is heavily involved, in that as well.
So he's setting the vision and he's running his
Mhm.
own little empire within it and having his
Yeah, he's
meetings with
very
the marketing
specific.
people and the creatives and la la la, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's very specific on like colors and fonts. Like talk to him about fonts. He'll be like, "No, it has to be I I don't have the patience sometimes for this, which is so funny. Like I don't have the patience like at photo shoots. I'm like, I got stuff to do, you guys. Like let's keep this moving. Whereas he's like so particular about the lighting and the angles, yeah, and the fonts and stuff
Interesting.
like that. And I'm like, whatever, it's done. Like it's fine. And he's like, no, the font has to be shifted like half an inch. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say.
That's awesome. But that level of excellence is really something that has elevated your entire brand, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's definitely a perfectionist when it comes to that stuff, which frustrates me sometimes in terms of like I'm more like time is money, honey. Like we gotta keep it moving. But he has definitely been the visionary behind that. So I really feel like it's a 50-50.
Nice. And, it's funny, Vin and I have been in business, for almost 4 decades, and our partner Bill, of course, is with us as well. And I've often described how we have 3 different superpowers, which results in 3 different areas of the business that we each have a domain over. And it is one of the key reasons why we've been able to stay partners for all these decades, still like each other for all these decades, still love each other for all of these decades, is because it wasn't a conscious thought ever. It was never, okay, Vin, you're in charge of all finances. And when a decision comes down strictly to the money, you're the deal breaker. Lou, you're in charge of employees and, blah, 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 and, marketing. And Billy, you're in charge of installers. It was like it developed as we developed because we were all young, right? And it developed as we developed. And we just had a respect for each other that it became, if it was in that area, if the 3 of us couldn't agree, whoever's area it was, well, the other 2 went, all right, fine. I think they're
Yeah.
crazy, but like, let's do it.
Yeah,
And
and I have to
sometimes the
respect.
person was right and sometimes the person was wrong, but you lived with it because it was their area, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really important. I think whether it's your husband or a business partner
Mm,
or associate or whatever, I think it's really important to, yeah, be able to respect the other person's opinions and you each have your individual areas of expertise
mm,
for sure. I think that's
yeah.
really important.
Yeah. Interesting. So let's go just a tiny bit further into the weeds here. You know what's a question that many designers are always curious to know how other designers do is the process from a client finding your company and making that first contact
Mhm.
to signing the contract. Will you walk us through your process a little bit at your firm?
Yeah, we really want everyone to go to the website first.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people will message us or come into the store or whatever and want to just kind of sign up right there. But we really want people to go onto the website, review our process. We've like really, gone through the ringer. We've been around the block a few times now. So like ingraining into the client like what your process is because everyone does things differently. So you really want that client to know what your process is. How do you operate? What are the next steps, so that they kind of know what to anticipate, how you're going to communicate, what it's all going to look like timing wise. So we have them go on the website, make sure they're reviewing that process, and then fill out the form where we get all of that information. Then we set up an initial call. That just helps us get clarification on how they're communicating, answer any questions they may have about our process, about the project, stuff like that. We don't get into too much detail about the design portion. And then from there, we would do like if we're ready to go forward, then we would go ahead with another virtual call, and then we would present them with a proposal.
Oh, so you're not necessarily your preference right there is a virtual call and not an in-home consultation.
Well, specifically right now, typically we would do an in-home consult. It's nice to be able to talk to people, be in the space, or have them come into the office and have a conversation there. Right now, it's virtual.
Okay. And so that even when you can do it in person, it doesn't necessarily happen at the client's home. You might have them come into your studio space because you're not that first consult in your mind, you're not gathering the information for the project and what the deliverables that they're looking for. You're still doing the review and the research on whether
Mhm.
you're a good fit.
Yeah, if it's a remodel or a reno, it will be on site. If it's a new build, it won't, not
Oh,
necessarily.
oh, I'm forgetting that a predominant proportion of your projects are new builds.
Hmm.
So then it's, yeah,
Yeah, so
right,
it'll be dependent on
right,
on
right.
that for
Sort
sure.
of doesn't make sense if you meet out on a piece of, land or you meet in a nice office with a cocktail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Okay. And so when you have that initial consult, first of all, do you charge for that consult?
Yes, we.
Okay. And then if it is a new build, I'm sure you've asked before you get to this meeting, but what's your opinion on, is there an architect? Is there a builder? Are these people that you want to bring on? Or you're like, do you have a builder? Do you have an architect? How do you handle that, Melissa?
It depends. Everyone is different. I find some people already have a builder and an architect, and some people don't. So it'll depend on the scenario. Um, Either way, we always like to have meetings with those people. I really, again, communication is so important. We've had those instances where you don't have a good communication style with the builder, and you need to get on the right foot. They need to understand your process. You need to understand their process. You need to have like good communication right off the bat. So it'll depend on the scenario, but either way, we make sure we get to know them.
So that's a good point. So say you on your one of your initial calls find that a particular client, I'm coming to you and I'm saying, Melissa, I love your Instagram. Oh my God, you're so amazing. I want you to build my new house. And then we get on the call and I say, yes, I have the architect and I have the builder. Will
Mhm.
you meet with them before you commit and sign with me? Is that part of like what when you said because the communication is important, or is it you wait for me to hire you and then you say, okay, let me meet the builder and the architect? How do you do that?
Yeah, it should almost be the other way around. But no, we have the client sign first, and then we would set up the meeting with the builder and the architect.
Okay,
But
so
maybe it should be the other way
well,
around.
right, because if you get there
It
and
does
one of them
matter.
isn't playing nice in the sandbox, you can still get the heck out of Dodge, right?
Yeah, no, it's actually no. I'm gonna make that little note and maybe switch that process up. But it's important because everyone needs to be on the same team. Like
Mm-hmm.
your whole job and perspective should be that the end result is the most important thing. And so if we're all helping each other out, it's all going to run a lot smoother. So for us, really having
Mm-hmm.
that kind of communication from the builder is so important from the get-go, and just so that they understand like we want to be as invested in this as possible, so please make sure you're communicating with us
Mm-hmm.
more so than always going to the
To
client.
the client, right, exactly. And at what point are you vetting them for if their budget is realistic? So if again, I'm, client Sally Smith, I find you, I love I call you, but you say, go to my website and fill out the form, and I do all that. Then I have a call with you. Then we do a virtual call, and I'm like super excited. So when do you find out? Now I say to you, I've got the builder, I've got the architect, I'm building a 7,000 square foot home. The builder quote is, I don't know, $2 million. And do you say, based on that quote, I'm going to say that your design budget and blah, blah, blah should be this? Or how do you talk budget to make sure you're not continuing down the road with somebody who is not your ideal client?
Yeah, budget is such a huge part of the conversation. So we have them fill that out initially when they're first filling out that questionnaire. It's part of the subject lines. If they don't fill it out, we have that conversation right off the bat. Sometimes people don't know. I don't know
Right.
how much it's going to cost. That's fine. But start thinking about it. It's really important that you tell the clients to start thinking about it, because you need to have that conversation with yourself. You need to look at your bank account. You need to have that conversation with your significant other if you have one. Sometimes I think people haven't even thought to do that, and you need to instigate that because it's a really important conversation. Because sometimes, the wife's like, we're going to spend 100, and the husband's like, I thought we were spending 40, and we're like,
Right.
okay, we're on different pages here.
Right. And
And
and the truth is that in that scenario, they're probably going to spend 180. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't do anything until we've got a budget ironed out. We need to make sure that we're on the same page for that, because I've been down that road before. And then even if we were just decorating, we always iron that out. We lay that all out for them. We're like, this is a realistic budget for your, what you want to be doing, yes or no. So that's something I don't move forward with anything until I have like at least 3 photos or a Pinterest board, so I can understand their vision and also understand if it's cohesive. Sometimes people are all over the map, so I want to kind of rein in their design.
Mm-hmm.
And then the budget. The budget's super important too, because I've done that before where I've like designed something and then it was like not even close to what the budgetary expectations
Mm-hmm.
were. So always iron out the budget first too.
And
It's really
so how
important.
do you do that? So say again, I'm Sally Smith, and I went and filled it out, but when you asked me on the website, what's my budget for
Mhm.
my 7,000 square foot $2 million home, I left it blank. So I
Mhm.
come to the virtual meeting, and you say, hey, you left your budget line blank. What's going on? And I look at you and I say, well, Melissa, I've only ever bought furniture at IKEA before, but I want you to design my
Or bought
home.
it. Yeah, most people have in the past bought it over time too. You haven't always like bought it in
Right.
one.
You just, one thing from your grandmother, one thing from IKEA, one thing from a good place, but you've never just, and I think that's the thing. So many of us, until we're really tasked with it, we don't necessarily add up what we've got in a living room, because we might have designed and decorated on our own over a 5 or a 10-year period. And if you told somebody that you've got $30,000 in here, they'd probably tell you you're crazy, right? But then you break it apart. And that's
Yeah.
not even your target client. I'm sure of it. We want the next level. So when somebody who is building a house that really should be your ideal client, how do you get that realistic budget conversation on the table?
Yeah, I mean, you just put it out there, ask them if they still don't know, then what we'll do is just like a really rough, per room, rough like, area rug, 2000 sofa, whatever, just a really rough idea. I mean, these aren't actual specs yet, but just to give them an idea of like cost.
Okay. So
And
do
then
you
they'll
do
approve it. And then sometimes they'll be like, oh, can we, do you mind if we make the area rug a little lower? Do you mind if we make, I'd rather invest in a lighting fixture. I'd rather, I've got
Mhm.
kids and a dog. I want to maybe not go too heavy on the area rug. And it's sort of like we can play around with some numbers there. So not a problem
Mhm.
for sure.
So, but
Um,
your data is saying if I'm just having a conversation with you at a cocktail party,
Mhm.
I'm imagining that if I said to you, my average living room, 15 by 22 feet, and I show you a picture on Pinterest. This is the kind of design I want. Could you look at that and eyeball that and say that's a thirty thousand
ballpark.
dollar room,
Yeah.
$50,000 room?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah, like for us, even for like our LD shop guides. So we have a service on our website called LD shop guides, which basically we're curating stuff from our website for like a living room or dining room or whatever furniture and decor. So we always say like it's a minimum of $15,000 is kind of expected
Mm-hmm.
for per room.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just because like once you include everything, and sometimes you're like, wow, that's crazy, and I'm like, but think of how much stuff is in there. That's like an area rug, a coffee table. You got side tables, lighting, pillows, sofa, chairs, ottomans. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have decor in your bookshelves? It adds up so much faster than people think.
That's the truth. It absolutely does. But the idea is the lesson for designers that are not capable of this. Would you say that the core of the
Just
lesson lies in understanding what your average design room, the
yeah,
budget adds
just
up
have
to?
a rough, just like put and how I started doing what, like, I would actually source something. That's how I came up with these like general budgets, like what kind of sofa would you pick? And initially you're going to do maybe more work um for the client maybe before they've actually paid you, but you need to kind of be doing your research of like, okay, roughly I would spend, this much on a couch, on a coffee table, roughly do up a budget so that, and I find when you're presenting that to the client and kind of breaking it down in that way, they are then like, oh, okay. Because if you're like, oh, a living room, $15,000, they're like, what does that mean? But
Right.
when you're breaking it down per item, then they're like, oh, okay, I see where all of that money is being allocated. Now that I see it laid out like that, that totally makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No, it does. It always makes sense when you break it out for the consumer, but
Mm.
as the professional, you need to be able to put a pin in a number or a range, not a number, but a
Yeah.
range. I
So like
definitely
think
don't
of
want
the
you to
stuff
put a
that
pin
you
in a
would
number.
normally. Yeah, like think of the stuff you once you start doing a few projects too, but like go online or whatever. Where would you normally source from? How much is an average sofa? How much is an average chair? Like start to get some of those numbers in your head
Mm-hmm.
of like how much is an average coffee table that you would purchase or put in a client's home? Like what is the average client budget that you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
When we started out, we were totally working with like Structube and IKEA and stuff. So I was like, oh, my average coffee table is $200, or my average like sofas, 750, 1,000, whatever. And then like whatever your client, obviously our client budgets are are a little more than that right now, but think of your average customer or who your ideal customer is and start putting those numbers together.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, you mentioned at the top of the interview that you prefer customers, clients that are more digitally inclined, I guess is the word, right? So, are beyond just that initial consultation being virtual, it almost sounded like to me that you're not doing a whole lot of bringing them in to look and sit on things, that they're
We
relying
don't
on you.
No, we don't do that. We don't go like a lot unless it's like heavily requested that we do that. We won't go to stores with customers. We're not gonna um go to the tile shops always, like once in a while, but mostly we're like curating everything for you digitally and presenting it to you digitally. So we put everything in mood boards. We have shopping lists so you can see it. And then the girls do like a Loom video where you can we walk you through the design, how we created it, kind of review it. And then the client can kind of sit and look over our designs and then provide any feedback or questions.
And are you sourcing mostly trade or retail or both, or what is your firm?
Both, yeah. A lot of our products are from us. Um, and then materials are, yeah, like all over the place depending on the project, the look, the budget.
Mm-hmm. And when you must occasionally have the either the nudgy client that just is like, well, how will I know if it's comfortable, if it's a sofa, or the client that's 6 foot, or the client that's 4 foot
Yeah,
five. So how do you address that? You just
I say too bad. No, 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 we will either accompany them or have them go to, wherever it is
Okay.
to try it out if that's required.
So, are you investing in your team in other times, with making the trip down to High Point or Las Vegas Market or any things like that, and so that you can say, "I've sat in it. This is what we like. This is the quality," or it's just not your
Yeah.
jam?
No, yeah, yeah, we have gone to High Point, Las Vegas, all the markets for sure.
So, and you're familiarizing yourself, and that's where you, like, again, you also said in the beginning of the conversation that trust is a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. We want them to trust us. We also really want to hone in on the vision. So for us, it's like curating that whole room. Obviously, sofa aside, like you really want to make sure it's comfortable. And I think in general, we're wanting to obviously create a stylized space, but we also want to accommodate the functional needs of the client. I mean, that's really important. Or do they, do they need storage? Are they like family, a couple, whatever? I think you need to really consider all of the elements when you're doing something
Mm-hmm.
for a client. So I really want them to trust that we're like doing that due diligence,
Mm.
and like making sure that we're like, we know you're 6 foot, so we're going to make sure that we're specing something that's like the right height and the right depth, um,
Okay.
counter wise or lighting wise or whatever, we're really trying to consider all of those elements. But if they need obviously more reassurance, obviously for sure, we want our clients to feel comfortable. So whatever that is, obviously we'll make sure that they feel comfortable with whatever the scenario is. But we really sort of try to gear up for that trust initially, to kind of speed up the process. in terms of like, because you can spend a lot of time going back and forth. And I find sometimes if you give people too many options, you go in this circle.
Right.
You're showing them one, and they're, oh, I want to see another one. I want to see another, and then you
You
see
end up
five
with
things,
the
and then
first
they
one.
go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we really try to like hone in and like present that first initial, like, this is the plan.
This is the one. Yeah.
Like we don't mind making some tweaks here and there, but like this is the game plan. And like don't, nitpick too many of the little things. Though I'm not sure I would pick that side table. I'm like, but trust me, it's gonna, fit because this, the metal detail is picking up on the sconce and this and that, so just trust me.
Yeah, like you give them the reason to trust you, right? You explain a little bit of the why that one was picked. It wasn't just sitting over on at the end of the aisle in your style.
Like
in your
we're not
store.
just like
Yeah.
tossing stuff in here. Like we're really considering like functional needs, style, budget. We're really going through all of the elements. And when we're curating, the design, the decor, everything is really considered for, the style, the function, the cost, the budget. We're, trust that we're spending that time doing that due diligence and putting together something beautiful for you, but also functionally suitable for that your use of space.
Interesting. And so to go back to the process a little bit, so now you've had a conversation about budget, you have had your virtual consultation, now you've got them to verbally agree on a budget range. Now your team goes back and builds out a design plan, and is it
First we do the fee. So we have sort of a checklist of items depending on, so if we're doing the design and the decorating, we go through the checklist of like per room, like what we would be doing. And that's how we put together, we call it our design matrix. And that's how we put together our fee.
Okay. And then
It's like per room, like what are we designing and then what are we decorating? And then it'll be sort of like, is there millwork? Is there, a tile? Like how big is the space? You go through each room and that's how we create the fee. Yep. And then they'll have to approve that and then sign the service agreement, which really kind of outlines communication expectations, process expectations, stuff like that.
Okay. And then they sign that and they give you the design fee in full or 50%.
Deposit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we go 50, 40, 10.
Okay. Okay. 50, 40, 10. Okay. And then, so it's 50 when you are leaving that table. It's 40 when you deliver the design, I'm assuming. And then 10 when you what? When you start to execute, when you start to deliver, like, because now there's the next thing is the furnishings and all the design that you're going to purchase. Then that's a whole separate animal, right?
Yeah. That's usually ready by the time. So we start, the design is always obviously first, but like when the renovation is going on, then the decorating is already started. And so once we're at the tail end of the reno, then it's sort of like the install is going to happen shortly after that. And then the 10% is reserved because sometimes there's stuff that's like trickling at the end, maybe you're waiting for an area rug, maybe a frame arrived broken, so you're waiting. So we always reserve 10 until it's like fully completed, until we're like completely finished.
Okay. Okay. And do you ever do a build project that doesn't include the decoration part of it, where you just design the home and the interior hardscape finishes, or no?
This past year we did do a couple, but I don't think we'll take any on like that again. For us, the marketing is just so important, and to be able to get the products in there is really important. So I don't think we would do it again.
And so if somebody were to come to you, would you, in whatever words or language, just simply say that we're not your firm for that? We're if you don't want to do all the way to design and decoration, then don't call us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We would just say, like, for us, it's really important that, we're not only designing a space for you, but really being able to have like a turnkey space so they can really walk in and have this completed space, but also so that we get that full content at the end. Yeah. And
so you haven't had a situation yet where you've done a couple this year and now you're saying, I think going forward, we wouldn't take those projects. So you haven't faced that yet, where you've had to say, take it, don't take it, tell them no. You know what I mean? So am I correct in that?
Mm-hmm. No, we have had to turn people down.
Oh, you do. So okay. So because I have had conversations with designers who have said to me, the build portion of it is terrific, and there might be a $40,000 or a $50,000 or a $60,000 design fee attached to that, and so there's some merit in doing that. But the actual big money is made if I do, $500,000 worth of furnishings and I make 200,000 on that or whatever that number is, right? And so
It's also just sort of, I don't know why, but it feels like you get to actually complete the design then, like,
right,
because the design is beautiful for sure, but the house isn't really finished until you decorate it.
right.
So I think even when you're taking those photos, of the bathroom or the kitchen or whatever, I don't know, it doesn't have that same element of like wow factor until you've like furnished, you've put your
Right.
furniture and
You put
decor
the
in there.
right.
It's just like a higher level of impact and like satisfaction, I think, as a creative and as a designer.
So do you think it just becomes a point in your career, in your recognition, in your marketing, and the pipeline that you've built, where you can just look at a client and say, yes, I understand that you don't want to sign on the dotted line for all of this, but I'm not going to do it unless you do. Do you think that there's no magic in that? It's just deciding that you won't do it unless they do design to completion? Or because I know business owners, I know designers out there that are experienced 15 and 20 years, and their preference is to design the build and then design the decor to completion. And every once in a while, there's pushback from a client who says, I might do the design decor with you, but let's get through the design build part. I don't want to commit at the same time. So what's your feeling on that, Melissa?
Yeah, we would push back at that point in time. I completely understand. It would be completely up to them. I understand where they would be coming from if it's sort of like they want to build out the relationship, or if they're, money is a factor, or whatever the reasoning is totally fine. But no, I think we're pretty upfront with clients now too about, that's the marketing portion is a really important part of our whole business structure.
It's kind of like I guess what it's almost reminding me of is, you started by saying that you and your husband did your own home, and then you did your friend's home for free because you were excited to do it, right? And then you did some friends of the friend's home and you charged them, and then the next thing you know, you have this big grown-up girl business, right? So it's almost like that same hurdle. It's like you're at the point, not you personally, but someone listening, at the point where you're maybe 50-50 doing design build and then decoration to completion, and you're wanting to get it more, and you're just like, now you're at 80% where you're doing that, and you still have those few clients each year that won't sign on and trust for the whole process. And it's almost like that first time you say to the friend of the friend, well, this is my fee for designing. I'm no longer doing it for free. Not that I'm equating it to free, but it's those levels that you pass through, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you have to make decisions for yourself, for your business, for, where you want to be going. Obviously, in the beginning, I said yes to anything that came my way. Like someone was like, "Can you hang art in my house?" I'm like, "Sure." Like, I'll do whatever.
I got a hammer.
I'm like, whatever you're gonna give me money for, like, I will help you out. But yeah, now I need to be a little bit more selective, and I think making conscious business decisions. But also, like, I think if someone's willing to kind of go that extra distance in terms of the decorating, then I know that they have that trust in me, and that just makes me feel better about that the build portion is going to go that much smoother too. That they like already like are like, no, I'm fully invested in this. I fully trust you. It just makes me seem like, the communication is going to be smooth. The design process is going to be a little smoother. The whole process, because it's complicated. It's over a long period of time. You really want to have that trust right from the get-go. So
Interesting.
I feel like that kind of tells a story there too.
Yeah.
Not always, but I think it does factor in a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny because I know when a newer entrepreneur is trying to cross over from doing what all the things that you do in the beginning, like you said, oh, you want art hung? Yep. Okay, I can do it. You just want paint colors picked? Yep, I can do it. I know that hurdle where a designer will just, you have to, I've looked in the eyeballs of so many and just said, you just have to say no, sweetie. You have to say, no, I won't come to just do this. Now, by the way, there are designers that they're like I have a sister-in-law who, she's a full service designer, but she loves just sometimes going in and doing a quick paint consult for, several $100s and see you buy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not knocking the model. I'm talking about when a designer is actually looking at me and saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just do a full room. And then there's that other hurdle. I don't want to just do the design of the build anymore. I want to do the design to completion with it. And, we're not talking about at this level. I'm not looking at the eyeballs of an inexperienced firm. I think what I'm hearing is that it's just like you said, decide for yourself, and you're going to have to say no to some, and you're going to have to make your way through it, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard saying no to things. Like I've had
Yes.
to, fight that urge as like a yes person to say no to things, but I've definitely learned over the years that it's better to listen to your instincts, because sometimes you'll take on projects and you're like, why did I do that? And you'll regret it afterwards. Even small things, yeah, you're like, sometimes it's really fun. I've definitely done paint consults or hour consultations where it's been like so fun, and then I've done other thing where I knew initially I shouldn't have done it, but you're just trying to be helpful, or you're just trying to, and then you're like, why did I do this? Now this is dirty, and it's not necessarily a good end result for the client, and you just need to make sure that you're trusting your instincts, and like, yeah, be selective when you can be.
And one other thing I just want to go back and point out is that, when I was asking you how your process begins, and I said, oh, so somebody calls your firm, and you're like, well, and this is what I want to point out, whether they call or they're in my shop or they come through the internet, the first thing that they do is we direct them back to the website to fill out that form. So even if somebody is in your shop and they're buying away and they're happy and they say, oh my goodness, I want you to design my house, you guys say, thanks, that's amazing, go to the website and fill it out.
Yeah, we can pull out the iPad or the laptop and have them fill it out in person if they're ready to sort of jump on board right there. But we definitely want to encourage them to I want them to look at our design too, because we aren't every man's designer, like we have a specific brand that we've created and a style that we've created. So I'm not going to do, traditional coastal. I have like a warm modern style that I do. So I just want to make sure that people are looking at my style. I want to make sure that people are like reading over our process, that we're like digital, understanding how this all works, because I've run into those barriers where people are just like, well, what happens next? What are we doing? And I find when they go and they read through my process, they've seen my style, they get to know us and our brand and our company and me, then they trust us right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yes, I want this, I want you. And then I'm like, okay, they've done a little bit of legwork here. Like I find sometimes when people want to jump the gun, I'm like, no, you have to be able to spend a second. It's a big project for you. You should want to be able to spend a second, reviewing what we're going to offer you.
Mm-hmm. And that's the second time you've mentioned that they're comfortable digitally, because if somebody is just, oh no, I'm not going to want to look at it digitally, I'm going to want you to show it to me, I'm going to want to every, you're going to be like, you're not my girl, I'm not doing this for you.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not your designer. Yeah,
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Everyone, and I have, I've worked with designers in the past, and I have a friend who, she likes to shop per item. So she's a designer who, will meet with a client first and spend an hour with them, and then they'll go shopping together and buy each item individually. So she buys the sofa and then the art.
Oh my God.
It's a totally different way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
Right.
her clients enjoy that
Love
process.
her. They have
Whereas I'm like,
lunch and they do the whole thing.
yeah, and
Yes.
they don't want to get the art until the sofa's in. Whereas I'm like, honey, no, like I like do the whole room. Like I'm like putting it in a mood board. I'm sending it to you digitally. That's how I present my stuff. So we're totally, polar opposites, but my client isn't her client. Her client's not my client.
Do you find that your clients, because they are more open to this, are in a certain age bracket, or do you really have everybody from boomers all the way to whatever below millennials? I have no idea. Is there anything below millennials yet? Are they the lowest one at this point that are grown-ups?
Yeah, I don't know. Our age demographic is all over the place, but definitely, yeah, like someone I would definitely people who are digital. So I wouldn't say our demographic gets too up there in terms of age, but
Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I can imagine, there's it is to some extent it would be reasonable to think that there is age groups in that are more confident and capable of doing that. Even if it's just what they've known before. So somebody in my
Oh, you're
age
shopping
bracket,
online. Yeah,
what's
like
that?
shopping online. Like either you're comfortable shopping online or
Right.
you're not.
Right. And that's the thing. So like a boomer, even
Mhm.
if, I love your style and all of that stuff, if I've designed a home with designers 2 or 3 times in the course of my lifetime, and now you want me to all pick it from the computer, I might be saying to you, "Oh
Yeah.
no, Melissa, I need to touch that." And you're like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, I just look at the photo. Does it look good? Do you like it?
Yes.
Like my parents are like that. My parents are like, no, we have to wait till the store's open so I can go try out a bed, like they're which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I don't think there's any one way to be a designer. I don't think there's any one way to be a client.
Right.
Um, it's just sort of like making sure that you're finding, I think as a designer, you should start to hone in on like what your process is, who your ideal client is, what type of people style, things that you want to be doing and like presenting that to the client. And that way the client understands,
Mm.
so you guys are connecting in terms of like your communication style, what your process is like. And that way you're getting those right connections.
Yes. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And then you just add to it a husband who's genius at creative and social media marketing. And then, boom, you've got the perfect recipe.
Right?
That's awesome. What an amazing business you've created. To think that you're really at the beginning of your career is exciting. And it's going to be fun to watch where you and Sacha and the rest of your team take this. My goodness, by the time, I talk to you in another year, you'll probably have 60 or 70 employees. It's really incredible, and it's so fun for me to hear in you the smartness, like a hashtag smart lady all day long, Melissa.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. Well, I appreciate your sharing your time with us today. I enjoyed it. I know they're going to enjoy it too. So thank you so much, Melissa.
I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
I have to say, I really love that every designer, every business person that I talk to has just a tiny little different way of running their business. I think that's what keeps this thing interesting all these years, right? But one thing is that the successful ones have certain things in common. And one of those things is that they all typically tend to be lifelong learners. So, Melissa is a self taught design entrepreneur, right? In the 5 years since she and her husband jumped into the design business with both feet and no plan B, pretty much, she has consistently iterated her business. She's got a mind that recognizes she doesn't always have to have all of the answers and that she is open to input, and she is constantly searching for a better way to do something. When she had no idea what to do with COVID when it hit, she started Googling for answers, and she listened and reached out for what would Lou do, right? She said she listened to episode 559. And did you notice what she did when I spoke about the advantages of having a preliminary meeting with the architect and the builder before she commits to a new design build project? She immediately thought, that's interesting. That could solve some problems. I might need to think about that, right? It's this kind of openness to new ideas and this way of being open to problem solving that propels businesses forward, especially in a rapidly changing marketplace, right? And this is how Revelwoods runs their business as well. With a commitment to continually improving and problem solving, they've created a system that serves you. It serves you with a 24/7 digital flooring expert. If you need advice on what wood is right for your client's climate, lifestyle, budget, just go to revelwoods.com. Okay? Sign up for your designer trade account and get started on specifying and making money on hardwood flooring projects. Revelwoods.com. All right, now, Melissa Leclair is running big and small projects in the design firm. She has a 10,000 square foot showroom. She has a flourishing e-commerce store. And, through all this, she says she's winging it. But we heard her, you heard her, I heard her. She has systems in place, right? She couldn't be growing. And remember, she mentioned that she's at the point where she's not necessarily even hiring all of her own employees at this point. This is because she has placed a foundation in place at her business, okay? One of those foundations is her client onboarding process, right? So, like other designers that we've heard of, she channels all her prospects to her website so that not only can they provide key information about themselves, but she wants them to have a feel for the Leclair style, to also understand the expected turnaround times. She wants them to understand their communication style, and she wants her clients to understand her modern way of doing business, right? She talked about how it's all done digitally. Not everybody's going to go for that. So she lets them self-weed out at that phase. This is how you start to really only work with your ideal clients, right? And what I love is from there, the whole process is systemized, right? So after they receive the completed form, her team reaches out to chat with the prospects. They gather more information and they answer any questions. And at this point, they'll talk about budget if that portion wasn't filled out on the web form, right? She's learned the hard way not to move forward until the budget is ironed out. And if they really don't have any idea what the budget should be, her team provides a rough budget based on the details they've gathered, and they simply say something like XYZ is a realistic budget for what you want. Would you like to move forward? And we all know what we do then, right? We stop talking, right? So besides filling out the web form, Melissa requires her prospects to provide an image board so she can get a feel for their style. But she also wants to know how much education the client will need regarding the reasoning behind her selections and her designer's selections. If the client is all over the place on their image board, her team will know up front that this project may require a little more hand-holding in order to get to that design specifications and those design styles, right? So after the web form, the initial call, the client will pay for the virtual consult, and this is followed by the creation of a full design matrix for each room. The virtual presentation is done via Loom, which is a screen sharing tool that enables you to record your face and your computer screen as you click through selections and show your client each and every piece of the project, okay? This now becomes a video link that you then send to your client. And for Melissa, once the client approves the design, they take a 50% deposit, 40% is paid on delivery, while the final 10% is reserved until any pending items are delivered. All right. Precisely because I have this onboarding process and precisely because it's so specific, Melissa is able to delegate this to her design team. But then, as she explained, all the projects go to her for final approval before presentation. So this is interesting, right? And it's also interesting to hear how Sacha's domain is the marketing, okay? And I loved how Melissa said that her business as it stands today would not have been possible without the superpowers of Sacha, right? And she tells us, if you want to have market share, you have to go out there and get it. All right. And so in addition to Sacha acting as the creative director, there are 2 graphic designers and 1 marketing assistant, all combined to help make this magic happen. I just think it is terrific. She is one smart lady. She is constantly assessing, learning, and therefore growing and succeeding. She's putting in the work. She's getting more purposeful about her projects. She's planning and creating efficiencies for her team. And I, for one, can't wait to check back with her and see where her gut instincts, her natural smarts, her growth mindset, combined with all of the gifts that Sacha brings to their company, where they are a year or 2 from now. It'll be interesting. Wanted to see the growth of what they do. So my congratulations to the 2 of them and best wishes truly for seeing what they create. All right. Now, if you want to create a magical 2021, I have 2 spots left for chairman of the board. All right. This is for you, whether you're an interior designer, you're a window treatment professional, you're a photographer, you're a website developer, you are a workroom. It doesn't matter. Business is business. Okay. Right there. This year, I'm working with 3 interior designers, a landscape architect, and a workroom owner. So, business is business. If you're interested in having me by your side throughout the year in a very meaningful one-on-one way and helping you look for, create, identify your big goals for 2021, and then with you every step of the way to help you, to guide you, to answer your questions, to inspire you, and to make you accountable for achieving them, then take a look at the chairman of the board, okay? You can go to LuAnnNiagara.com/COB, all right, to learn all about it. Okay, get out there, assess, iterate, improve your mind, improve your business. I hope to see you Thursday night at the book launch, and I hope that you decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNiagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.